Good afternoon. It's Lions Talk with Smoke and Jeremy B.
Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails. NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like
here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Jeremy B.
Good afternoon. I see I got my normal commenters. Fred's in here saying good morning. It's a great day to be a Lion One Pride. Will Vogs, good afternoon, JB, my good sir. And Davey says, good afternoon, JB One Pride. Well, let's talk about the tale of the tape. Defensively, we were great. Offensively, we were great until we got in the red zone. Even though Goff was pressured, he wasn't sacked, which is a testament to the O-line. He had time to throw. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen him throwing so much. But the yard says everything about this game, other than the red zone takes, says the Lions should have won this game, but they didn't. Both teams had 4 penalties. The Buccaneers had 4 for 35. The Lions had 4 for 71. One of those was the face mask by Terrion Arnold, and then the DPI. That was a huge chunk of yardage. The other 2 were offensive line penalties. But everybody, I saw somebody in another show comment that Terrion Arnold reminds me of Slay his rookie year. He is a rookie. So the hate on Terrion Arnold, I get it. And everybody says, oh, that was his own play. Why did he cover Mike Evans? Because Mike Evans moved from the outside of Chris Godwin to the inside of Chris Godwin and ran his route that way. And they were in man coverage. Nobody covered Chris Godwin. He was covering Mike Evans because Mike Evans was starting to emerge as a target that he was going to go to. But for the most part, Chris Godwin beat us. He had, what was it? Chris Godwin had 7 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. We pretty much limited the rest of that offense. Baker only completed 12 passes. He only passed the ball 19 times. They only rushed the ball 23 times. The disparity is the Lions, we passed the ball a total of 54 times and 27 run plays. That's not conducive to good football. If you're passing the ball more than you're running, that means you're playing from behind, which we did all game. We were down 17-6 at the half with 100%. I wonder if this offensive genius thing is starting to go to his head. Because you know what it reminds me of? The Rams start in 2019 with Goff. Todd McVay did the same thing. He went away from the run, but the difference is we still have the same rushing talent we had last year. We basically were the Rams in that game, and they played like the Lions. Less yardage, less time of possession, more scoring in the red zone. We had less scoring in the red zone. It's a simple math. If you look at the total team stats, they had 216 total yards. We had 463. We had 139 on the ground. They had 70. They had 146 through the air. We had 324. They averaged 4.6 yards per play. We averaged 5.6. We had 26 first downs. They had 14. They were 2 of 10 on third down. We were 7 of 17. They didn't try a fourth down play. We were 3 of 5. Total plays, we had 83. They had 47. Sacks allowed, 5 for the Bucks, none for the Lions. 5 punts for the Bucks, 2 punts for the Lions. Fumbles lost, neither team lost a fumble. Interceptions thrown, Baker threw 1, which was to Brian Branch, and we threw 2. And 1 was the backup that was playing for Antoine Winfield. So, any given Sunday, it happened. I said in my review of the preview of the game that if everything went right, we'd have won 31-24. I said a 7-point win. If we lost, it would be a 4-point loss. Yep, the final score is the one that matters. We lost 100%. My stars of the game, Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jake Bates. Jake Bates went 3 of 3. You can't ask for anything better out of your field goal kicker than to make everything. And he made his extra point. So he's 100% through the season so far. My snoozers of the game, I, I'm going to put it on the shoulders of Goff and Ben Johnson. Goff, that one, the first one, we get it. It was a miss PI. That happens. It happens to everybody. I'm not blaming it. I haven't gone to defensive. I said my offensive stars of the game. I'm talking about offense right now. But it's Ben Johnson and Goff for me. I thought it was horrible play calling. You have one timeout, you use it, then you have no timeouts, and every play was short of the sticks in the end zone at the end of the game. Were they afraid they couldn't stop Tampa Bay again? That's the only thing I can think of, is that they were trying to eat it to the last second and it backfired. But that last play to throw it short of Laporta over the middle, that was awful. Now my defensive stars of the game: Hutchinson, Branch, Levi. And for me, even though he wasn't on the field the whole time, Reeder. Reeder was the biggest boon to this defensive line. Honorable mentions: you got to throw Levi O. You got to throw Derek Barnes in there. He had that huge stop on third down to make it so we got the ball back with a chance to win by batting the pass down. Yeah, I didn't understand going for it then and then not kicking the field goal when we were on the other side of the 50 with a guy that has hit from 60 yards in previous games prior to being in the NFL. I I get it, Hatter's house. I think they should have gone for the field goal there. Roll out Jake Bates. Let us see that big leg. Let us see if he can continue to do what he did for the Michigan Panthers for us. I think if we'd have took that one, the game might have been played differently by Tampa Bay if it was close. And let's not forget, we had the coaching blunder at the end of the half. We're getting ready to spike the ball, and the special teams unit is sent out before he spikes it. They rushed it. There was no reason to rush it. There was 4 seconds on the clock when he went to spike the ball. And Dan Campbell fully took responsibility for it, which I commend him, because whether it was his assistant, the head coach makes the final call on that stuff. And he took the responsibility and didn't throw anyone under the bus. Right. A field goal or going for it would have made it more sense. Yeah, it would have. I think the field goal was the right option at that point. We were on the other side of the 50. 7 yards back, you're talking about at most a 60-yard one. And it was a short, high punt. We had everybody there to try and do it, and nobody made the tackle. Right, we should have had 9 points at least, if not 12. I agree, Hatter's House. But this wasn't our best game. But you know who had the best game? And probably the best game by a Lion, what, since 1994, I heard? This right here. Through 35 career games, Lions' Aiden Hutchinson has more sacks than Lawrence Taylor, QB hits than Aaron Donald, tackles for loss than Julius Peppers, pressures than Nick Bosa, tackles than Michael Strahan, pass breakups than Michael Garrett, forced fumbles than Reggie White, and more interceptions than TJ Watt. He's my overall star of the game, 100%. And I'm quite sure it'll show that. We had tons of pressures, but Baker Mayfield escaped a lot of them. We should have had 10 sacks in this game. People grabbing at his jersey and everything else, they whiffed. But Hutchinson played amazing. He was a man possessed. I couldn't believe it. 3 sacks in the first quarter. And Levi played good too. I did say the defense would not miss Marcus Davenport being out there because of Reeder being in the middle of the line. And it showed that I was right, because defensively, we held them to way less than what the Rams did. The defense gave us a shot to win the game, and we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. Does anybody disagree with that sentiment? I think the Rams, but Hutch's arms are too short. LOL. Hutch 8. Yes. It's looking like my $10 bet for Defensive Player of the Year may come true. And as much as, we're mad about a 4-point loss, a loss is a loss, whether it's 1 point or it's 40 points, right? It could have been worse. It could. Yeah, he had 2 penalties. I understand that. But at the same time, after the face mask, we still shut him down on that drive. At the PI, that wasn't when they scored their touchdown. So I get it, but he's a rookie. He's going to make those mistakes. He's still adjusting from this. He's still adjusting from the NFL to college. And the defense is the only reason we were even in the game, 100%. Yes, we shot ourselves in the foot more than once. Absolutely. That second interception by Goff is inexcusable. There wasn't a receiver within 20 yards of the 3 defenders it landed by. I'm not going to talk about the next game yet because it's still processing this game, We'll get into that all week. Right now it's still processing this game. It just happened. The week's not over because Monday Night Football's not done yet. So I'll start focusing on what we got to do for Arizona and MHJ here shortly. Yes, I am outside. I decided I needed to smoke during this one because this was a frustrating game. And it's a frustrating game to talk about. What did I think about the play calling? I think Ben Johnson's getting way too cute. 54 passing plays to 27 rushing plays is not conducive to good football. We went away from the 3rd best rushing attack last year for 2 games in a row now. And Goff plays better when the run game sets up the pass. The pass should never set up the run. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. 13 rushes for 84 yards by Gibbs at 6.5 yards per carry, and most of that came on that 3rd and 22, where we had no reason running a halfback delay, and thank God Jahmyr Gibbs is that good we converted it. But 11 rushes for Monty with 3.2 yards, and he had a touchdown. He's an honorable mention, but he really didn't do much this game because they didn't call his number. I didn't like it. Did he get hurt or something? Did anybody see? Because I didn't hear anything about it. He was targeted twice. He caught let's see, what was his receiving? Laporta caught he was targeted 3 times. Yeah, game on the line, and we're picking plays that take negative yardage. Those screen passes were awful when we're trying to get to the end zone. Pat Rothwell, I agree. But let's go over a few of the other games. I'll say this right now. I would rather be 4 of 10 in the red zone than be 0 for 15 on touchdowns for drives like a certain quarterback in the Windy City. 15 drives, 2 interceptions. Granted, he looked better. Take those interceptions were a lot like Goff's interceptions. He was under pressure. And I'm not trying to give Goff an excuse. Laporta looks healthy to me. I just don't think they're targeting him. Yes, Hatter's house, we did. We literally ran the same toss run play back to back times. It it was disgusting to watch. I was like, why aren't we running the ball? Why aren't we running? Oh, we're running the ball. Oh, the same play twice. And they wonder why it failed the second time. What about Vaki having a catch for 17 yards on that pass from Mr. Jack Fox? 4 preseason games and 2 regular season, 0 touchdowns. Well, in the first game, he didn't play versus Houston. So it is what it is. Houston gets the edge. Hey, Swift enjoying that 2 yards per carry average. The screen passes were a joke. 100%. Game on the line and you're throwing screen passes. Yes, Mitch Ledge, the way the versus the Ram was fun to watch. And that pass was from Fox was awesome. Think about this. He's 80% in his career. 4 of 5 for 61 yards. You can't ask for much more out of your QB3, also known as your punter. Tim Patrick showed up, made a couple plays, but then it was just a weird game to watch. And I did call it on Friday. Do you guys remember? I said, I bet you it's Tom Kennedy and whoever else gets called up. There would be 2 wide receivers called up. It was Tom Kennedy and Tim Patrick. Jack Campbell had quietly a decent game, too. Fox is the new Cordell Stewart. I like that. That's a good call. But our tackle leader was Brian Branch. Jack Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Barnes, and Carlton Davis III tied at 4. Anzalone, Joseph were tied at 3. Everybody else had 1 tackle, but Levi Onwuzurike had 4 assisted tackles for 4 total tackles. But the half sack with Hutch and Hutchinson's 4.5, that should have been a big difference maker in this game, and it really ended up not being. Our kick returner, for the most part, was Tom Kennedy. Hey, Brent DeWitt, you're not the only one. Right, it is the same game. It 100% reminds me exactly of that Seahawks game, except we didn't have a chance to tie it at the end. We just failed to win. I think Patrick does have potential, but it's his first game. He had 2 catches on 4 targets. One was sailed over his head miserably, and the other one hit at his feet. So the 2 that he could catch, he caught. I was happy with his performance. And Jamison Williams had another 15 yards rushing. Can't say enough about that kid. Jamison Williams is turning out to be exactly what they wanted with the 12th pick overall 2 years ago. Matter of fact, let's look at his total stats this year. He has 200 yards receiving on 10 catches for 20 yards per catch, 52 uses long, and 1 touchdown. His rushing, he's had 2 carries for 28 yards. Yeah, Houston was never on the field. He didn't take a snap, but he was dressed. And to me, that was a wasted roster spot. We could have brought Uku up. How many touches did Jamo have yesterday? 6. And the first time he didn't get a touchdown. 5 receptions, 1 rushing. Targets, 6 targets, and the one wasn't even close because that was the one that should have been DPI'd, but it ended up being a pick. Williams is filling the legacy of QB inferiority. You know, as much as I hate to say, I want to bag on Williams bad for yesterday, but I'm going to give you a key stat here. He was pressured 14 times. He was 23 of 37, which is way better than what he was the week before. He threw for 174 yards. His 14 incompletions, 2 of them were picks, and all of them were under duress. Hello, Trace. So at the same time, yes, it was an awful performance. It was much better than his week 1 performance. But he has still yet to throw a touchdown pass. So in that sense, he's Justin Fields 2.0 right now until that O-line can block for him, because that O-line's not doing him any favors. Good afternoon, Trace. I'm cautiously optimistic still for the rest of the season. Hopefully, Dan Campbell looks at the stats and says, this can't happen anymore. This can't happen. We have such a prolific run game and we're not using it. Yes, now Broski knows why I said the Bears should have been. Yeah, I agree 100%. The winner was Aiden Hutchinson. And for me, the biggest loser is James Houston. Yeah, think about this. The Bucks were held to 71 rushing yards on 22 carries and a touchdown. We only gave up 20 points. I said they should have took that haul because either the Patriots or Washington wanted to move up to 1, and they were willing to give it for Fields. They should have took that trade instead of the trade from the Steelers. I, and pretty much the 3 losers was coaching, red zone offense, and Jared Goff, according to PFF. So, yeah, I pretty much nailed that. So, what else do you want to talk about? Because there's a lot. Why is not on the field? Is something going on that we're away off? It's puzzling. With James Houston, uh, it's because he isn't what he used to be. We saw it. Remember, Trace? We saw it. Houston is not as good as we thought he would be. He doesn't look the same. He doesn't have the same get off. He doesn't have the same bend. He's 20 pounds heavier than he used to be, which Broderick Martin is the exact opposite. When we watched him at camp, that 20 pounds off of his body made a huge difference in his bend, his get off, and everything. It, Broderick Martin isn't only on the field because he's injured. And it's going to go to beg the question. He's been dressed now this game. He wasn't dressed the game before. Is he trade bait? Are we waiting for somebody to give something for him? Because his rookie year says he's better than his 6th-round draft pick status. And his play on the field, when he's been on the field, says he's better than that 6th-round draft pick status. But we're not letting him on the field. Okay, just wondering if that was behind it. Yes, I remember from training camp. He's not the same for sure. Oh, I know. I had a bad feeling after Jabo got tackled during his route. They didn't call DPI. But at the same time, Terry Arnold on the one DPI, he actually had his head turned around. The announcers even said they didn't think it should have been DPI. But New York didn't call it in to fix it. At that point, you can't call a challenge flag on DPI. And it sucks. It has to be New York that does it. And they didn't. And they also didn't do it on the JMO pick play where they got an interception. But I thought all interception plays were reviewed. Yes, Yoli Cruz is in the chat. Happy Monday. Congratulations to your Packers. I'm going to say that's a testament to Matt LaFleur that Malik Willis looked the best he's ever looked as a quarterback versus a solid defense. All game long on 3rd and long, why are we not throwing to the sticks? Why are we throwing short, hoping to cross the line with 3 guys safeguarding? I know, Fred. It was frustrating. There was a few missed calls and questionable calls. The one you can't say was questionable was when after Terry Arnold hurt his hand and he got it clubbed up, he 100% with his right hand grabbed that dude's face mask. It was a face mask 100%. That was warranted. Houston's repaired ankle is not letting him bend like before. That and the added weight. I think the two of that combined, you're talking about, and it's probably more of a mental block than anything with Houston. I've said this 100 times, and now everybody's starting to actually come around to what I said. I think he's trade bait. I think at the trade deadline, you may see James Houston moved. They're waiting for him to show out in practice one time, and then they'll put him in a game. That's what's going to happen. But at the same time, while we lost a game, nobody's running away with the division. Minnesota's 2-0. They had a great game. That pass from Sam Darnold was a dime, just like the one that Goff threw to Jama was a dime. He didn't have to break stride. Say what you want. I'm not making excuses. I'm giving the reasons why we lost. And there's a lot of them. And it all comes back to coaching and Jared Goff. 27 rushes versus 54 passes. I thought it was 56, but they removed a couple of them because they forgot that penalties were involved on those plays. So those stats got removed. So, hey, we actually threw the ball 55 times. There was a missed holding call on Levi when he was coming around. There was another one missed on Mekhi Wingo, but that doesn't mean that isn't why we lost the game. We lost the game because we couldn't score in the red zone. 1 for 7. It it's almost inexcusable. Last year we were one of the best red zone offenses. This year we're one of the worst. Right, they're waiting for him to show something in practice and then they'll dress him to race. I've said it before. If Goff goes over 40 attempts, it's a bad game for the Lions. And go back and look. Any game he's thrown more than 40 passes, it's been a bad game for the Lions. And that's all 3 years he's been here. It's not managing the game. The play calling was abysmal. Um, the first half, it wasn't as bad as everybody thought, but that second half was abysmal. Kudos to our defense. We actually outscored them offensively in the second half again. We outscored another team in the second half. It just wasn't enough to win. I think our defensive coordinator did a great job, except for not using a spy or a containment blitz. And let's face it, on that touchdown run, Mekhi Wingo missed Baker Mayfield bad. Rookie mistake. My dad always says, if you need 7 yards, never throw it for 5 or 6. LOL. It's not an LOL. It's the truth. I'm not going to blame AG at all, except on the not containing Baker Mayfield, who was their leading rusher with 34 yards and a touchdown. I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit. Yep, 40 attempts at the most. Anytime we go over 40, we're having a bad game. It means we're playing from behind all the time. Granted, it's equaled 6 comeback wins out of 10 now, but the 4 losses were over 50. So that's a key stat to look at going forward. If we're throwing the ball 50 plus times, expect to lose those games. Vita Vea went down towards the end of the second half for Tampa Bay, and Amon-Ra St. Brown went down with a minor injury, according to Campbell, and couldn't play the final play of the game. He tried to get set up, and he had to walk off the field. And granted, he made it in time to be able, for them to even run a play, is a testament to the strength of Amon-Ra, because he got to the sideline and fell flat. And they were working on him during that whole last play. But at least he's just nicked up, according to Campbell. See, and this was That's the thing. When Vita Vea went out, who's their best run stuffer? Oh yeah, 100%. Because you don't have to worry about the hip drop rule tackle. Then, if you hit them in the legs and you tackle them on the legs, there's no penalty. If you hit them at the top and roll over their legs, it's a penalty. But that's rarely being called. I think we saw the first one called last night. So out of all 32 games, it's only been called once, which means they are actually paying attention to the letter of that rule. If Goff is throwing 55 passes in a game, that's unacceptable. That leads to more mistakes and possible picks. 100%. But at the same time, they did try to run it, but it was Gibbs between the tackles instead of Monty, and he was getting stood up at the line repeatedly. If Monty couldn't go, why didn't they at least try Vaki or throw more of the fullback protection in? I noticed Hess played a few more snaps at fullback than last week. Vaki played a couple snaps at fullback. One of them was a play action pass, and he did a great job, which led to a big pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. But the play action pass basically disappeared after the first half because we weren't running the ball. Thank God Gibbs is outside runs though, because that 3rd and 22 on the halfback delay, I was scared when he started running. I was like, oh God, we're not getting it. But he did. Yeah, I think he had a 35-yard run right there. So agreed, we should have pounded Monty. I wonder if Monty was hurt because statistically he didn't do much. Do I smoke cigars? No, they tear my throat up too much. Just cigarettes. I mean, Gibbs and Monty combined for 24 rushes. Jamison Williams had one, and Jared Goff had two, both of them for first downs. God, I can't tell you, I was scared shitless every time Goff ran, but he actually looked fast when he did it. It was crazy. I've never seen Goff look like that with the ball in his hand. What's got into him? He didn't look like a giraffe with a broken leg being dragged by a lion. Do they alternate Monty and Gibbs every other game? So far they have. But we didn't used to do that unless one of them was hurt. We usually ran both almost an equal amount of times last year. And that's why and we ran them equal times this year, but it wasn't enough. Good afternoon, Dwayne Keed. Yes, Wingo is raw, and he does have a high ceiling, 100%. But he's so far best suited at defensive tackle. He still has to learn the nuances of defensive end. He did it very limited at LSU. So he's even more raw at defensive end than he is defensive tackle. But I do like what I have seen. He does have that good bend. Let's go, Detroit Lions. Never back. One pride, all grit, never back down. 1-1 NFC North championship title. I think Gibbs should get fed more overall and more than Monty as well. Who do I put the blame on in the screwed up field goal before the half? Well, it does ultimately come down to the head coach. No matter if it was an assistant coach, they didn't listen, whatever. Uh, the special teams unit tried to come on the field before they snapped the ball. That's a big snafu. And Dan Campbell didn't throw anybody under the bus, accepted the responsibility, which is why his coaches and his players love him. Yeah, Barnes is getting there. You know what I mean? He was tied for second in the game for tackles again. He had a good game. Campbell had a good game. Yeah, we need to be ready for the Cardinals. That's the focus, and we'll be talking about that all week long because I'm going to start dissecting that game. I think the Rams, after we shut them down in the red zone the way they did, everybody else is just taking notice and doing the same thing. They're giving them that bend don't break shit. Yeah, he should be defensive player of the week. 5.5 sacks. I don't care if it was a loss. He was amazing. Was there any pick sixes yesterday? I didn't hear of any for anybody. I think that's the only thing that would trump Aiden Hutchinson's performance is somebody had multiple picks with the pick six. And New Orleans is looking scarier than anyone thought. No one gave them a chance at winning the division, and here they are leading the division with the Bucks, 2-0. Who's your surprise 0-2 team? I say the Ravens and the Bengals. I expected the Bengals to be 1-1 by now. And the fact that New England's 1-1 is crazy, and they could have won that game yesterday too, versus the Sea Chickens. Agree, Jeremy. I see another Pat Stafford season coming, laughing my ass off. Yes, Stat Padford. How about them Cowboys? Oh, yeah, I know. They got exposed. Bad. We all said we thought they were overrated, especially in the offense with what they by not having Gallup with CD Lamb. And the New Orleans Saints exposed them and their defense. Go figure the Bengals, Ravens give their QBs the bag and their team sucks overall. Hey, look at it this way. We gave Goff a bag and he had a mediocre game and a bad game. So that can be said about us too right now. So until I hate that we lost the way we did, but how about them Cowboys? That's right, Dale. They went and beat up on a beleaguered Cleveland team who went and I surprisingly cleaned house on Jacksonville. Let's talk. I'm glad the 49ers lost, but now you got to start thinking if we got to take Minnesota a lot more seriously than we thought because Sam Darnold's looking good. And it wasn't against a cupcake. It was against the 49ers defense, which was a pretty good defense versus the Jets last week. The Jets did enough to squeak out a win versus the Titans. And it wasn't because of Aaron Rodgers. Cowgirls gave Dak that bag and they suck after. LOL. Yeah, I know. I know. But the surprise team in the NFL right now, I think, is the New Orleans Saints. I did not expect that. I said Arizona would win a couple games in their division because they always play their division hard. It's outside their division, and when they travel, that you got to worry about that. Cowgirls losing was the only thing that made me feel better yesterday. And that O line's protecting him well. He's not taking a lot of shots, so it is what it is. Dak did what Dak does. Yeah, but he doesn't usually do that at home. In the regular season, Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year, $10 will get you 120. Yep, 12-1 odds. And that those odds are going to go down shortly. So if you want to make that bet, you make it now. I put my bet on Dan Campbell, who had the fifth best odds in the league. I just hope what we saw for the play calling yesterday is not indicative of the rest of the season. I will leave it at that. But I am going to say it again. Caleb looked better this week than he did last week because all 14 of his incompletions, including the 2 interceptions, came while under pressure. 14 QB hits and 7 sacks. Me too, Jeremy, for Coach of the Year. So it's not all doom and gloom in Chicago. It just doesn't look good right now. If it is, Ben needs to be confronted. I think Dan Campbell's probably confronting him right now. Dan Campbell doesn't throw. Cowboys lost at home. Jerry's must have forgot to pay the refs. LOL. Yes. But now we got to reverse the order. Tied for second place in the division is both the Pack and the Bears and the Yep, I got my money on Dan. He is plus 2,100. Ryan D'Amico has placed $10 on O'Connell this morning. Yep. I don't blame you. Exactly. I put it on a preseason when the odds were high. Now when it's plus, hey, Broski Bear, I agree. Caleb improved. It was an effing ugly game, but the Bears had an opportunity in Houston to have a game-winning drive with 2 minutes left and held the Texans to only 1 touchdown too. Gotta love that defense. Hey, and I said this all the time. I said the biggest question mark for the Bears was the interior O-line. And it's not holding up. It's not helping the run game, which helps to set up the pass, which makes a rookie quarterback look better. And I said I didn't care about the weapons, and I didn't care that you got the best QB in the draft. If he is or not, we don't know, because we haven't seen him take that step to carry the team. He had a chance to carry the team to the victory, but the O-line let him down. That's what I saw. And he had over double the yards as he had the week before. So that's all you can ask out of your rookie quarterback. He neither won nor lost the game. You're right, Jeremy. I agree with your thoughts on the Bears. Your defense is usually always really good every season, Broski. The Bears are known for having a solid defense. 100%. I'm a no bullshit guy. I've told you this. And we all said Minnesota had a great defense. The only question was at quarterback. They've got great wide receivers. They got a solid running back core. The only thing you didn't know about was the quarterback. And so far, Sam Darnold's looking good because the O-line's looking good. If that O-line ever fails to protect him, you'll see the Sam Darnold you used to see. Because when he's under pressure, he's rattled just like every other quarterback in the NFL. And that's how you beat Sam Darnold. It's pressure. When he's pressured, he doesn't do as well. So far, nobody's been able to get to him. And the Giants actually have a decent front seven. The 49ers have one of the best front sevens in the league for a four-man front. So I'm not taking anything from the 49ers or Minnesota. They're doing what they need to do. 49ers are 1-1. Minnesota's 2-0. Granted, they had a cupcake first week because offensively the Giants are trash. They scored 3 touchdowns and couldn't beat the Commanders. They lost on 7 field goals. And how about Justin Fields throwing his first touchdown pass? And if he right tackle screwing up the way he did, he would have probably had 2 more. The Broncos had no business being in that game. They looked overmatched from the start. But there's Minnesota making 49ers do 49er things in Minnesota since 1992, and that's losing. They have not won a game since 1992 with Joe Montana. And that's insane to think about. I think that was the last year Joe Montana played, or was that Steve Young? I don't remember. It's too long ago for me. And the Minnesota Vikings are proving what we said. A dominant front seven makes your corners better. Right, Sam Darnold is building up his confidence, which he never had before in the NFL. Good for him. And I'm quite sure Ryan Poles is looking at what's out there in free agency for guards and centers, and he's going, man, it isn't any better than what we got. I'll tell you how bad your interior O-line was. Cody Whitehair looked better against the Ravens than your entire interior O-line versus the Texans defense. And that's not saying a lot because Cody Whitehair wasn't that good. Gardner Minshew got sacked twice because of his fault. But let's see, tied for second place. We got Fuck the Bears. We got Fuck the Packers. And in first place in the NFC North right now, we've got Skull Fucked. And that's the way I'm going to do it, is by where the teams rank in the division every week. Right, I remember that too. Darnold is thriving under a good coach, 100%. Kevin O'Connell is an offensive-minded coach. And Dwayne Keane says, fuck them all. But you know what I've seen? We are still one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL so far. So far, our division is 5-3 through the 8 games they've played. That's pretty good. Overall, we have a positive win record as a division. And you kind of can say the same thing in the NFC West right now, which I said those would be the 2 best divisions around here in the NFC. And it really depends on what the lower teams do in the NFC North. JB maybe consider making Brown Bay Fudge Packer sponsor. LOL. I might have to. I might have to come up with something for all of them. And am I saying our O line was great yesterday? No, but they were good enough that we should have did better. We didn't give up a sack. So things should have went better. I mean, look at all the stats I said. We sacked them 5 times. They sacked us none. They punted 5 times. We punted twice. Did I make it in time to save FTP? Yes, sir. Fuck the Bears, fuck the Cheeseheads, and fuck the Vikings. One pride. I love each and every one of you. I don't have my sound card when I go outside with me because it's way too much to transfer and get hooked up again, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I'm just with my normal mic. There's no echo. LOL on Fudgies, broski. Up here we call tourists Fudgies because they come from up north for the fudge shops. Yeah, and they call us trolls. The Yoopers call us trolls because we're as in the Mighty Mac. Well, tune in tonight as I try to get Leonard on for the Monday mashup. I might try to bring a couple other fans in with us. Who knows? But thank you for watching. And try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. But let me get to my paying sponsor before we all take off. It's Brandon Service right here at the South Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road, 602 West Atherton Road. Where? In Flint, Michigan. Flint, where the water's shit, but the tires are good. Stop in and check us out. Used tires starting at $40 and up. If you need new tires, please call to get your quote, 810-233-8230. Talk to George, Red, or myself. Mention this ad, you will get $10 off if you need a set of tires. I hope everybody here has a fantastic day. Individually, I hope you all have the best day you possibly can. And for our rival fans, I hope you have the day you deserve. I let karma sort it out for everybody else. But we have a great family in this chat. Thank you for watching. And may God bless each and every one of you. Have a great day, everybody. And I got to do the outro for Huddle Sports Network, because without them, I'm not going on Roku and Fire Stick.
Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast.